Brother John apparently had the blue tinted specs on, but at least Dermot Gallagher, he's got the referee specs on. Welcome back to the channel, and we're going to discuss this here on Fog Football because, right, we'll get dive into his quotes, but apparently Nansala's movement did not meet the threshold for VAR intervention from McLean and the team in the Clydesdale house. So he was speaking to Sky Sports Ref Watch. We'll get into quotes in just a minute. Now, when I initially seen this, I thought it was going to be due to the fact that it's not the same phase of play, which we've seen with VAR quite a lot, where if it's something from like 30 seconds ago, and maybe 30's too extreme, I need to go rewatch the incident again, but you know, we're talking about an incident that happened in the penalty box up one side of the pitch, and then Rangers go up and score on the other. So, is it the same phase of play? I mean, some would argue no, some would argue yes, but me, I think Hearts were a wee bit unlucky. I think it's one of those ones where if it ain't in the penalty spot, is it a penalty, right? Does both of Clinton and Salah's arms push the Hearts man? I think that's undeniable, right? But you just don't really tend to get penalties for that. Let's be honest, man. See if that was outside the box, I think this is 127% getting called back and being given as a foul, being given as a free kick. And the more I look at it, I do feel for Hearts fans. But here, if Hearts just learned how to put the ball in the back of the net during this game, they'd have been in the money. But Dermot Gallagher turned around and said, and I quote, I think the referee, you can't even see him in the starting picture because he's way behind. I think when this ball comes in, whether it's a clear foul or not, he can't tell because the player is between them. There's a little push there. It is enough to give a penalty. Beaton has to call it down the barrel for you. He can't see it. He goes too far and they will say it doesn't meet the threshold. End of quote. So, yeah. I mean, so is that John Beaton's fault? It didn't go to the monitor because Rangers scored. Should it have went to the monitor? Probably. But he's on about it didn't meet the threshold, right? And as much as the 2-1 Rangers going into the lead with this goal obviously benefited my team, I want FAR to be consistent for all, man, right? There's no point of it even being here if it's not good, if it's not consistent. And realistically, what should have happened here is, there might be a foul in the build-up. And then what they do is they turn around and tell Beaton to look at the monitor. And the question of the matter is this: if Beaton judges the Clinton and Salah foul, or if he judges it to be a foul, then it's an almighty swing in the game because it goes from 2-1 Rangers to Hearts at 1 each, with a penalty to make it 2-1. And I can definitely see why Hearts fans are aggrieved. Is it the worst decision I've ever seen? No, it's not. I mean, is it a penalty? Is it a penalty by the law, the rules of the game? Honestly, who knows with penalties these days? I think if the referee disallowed this goal and gave a penalty, you couldn't really have complained too much because once you use both your arms and hands to push a player in the back, then you can't really complain. I think what would have been interesting about this is, say this happened, right, and the ball went out of play straight away, and then they went to VAR, and then they checked this. Would they have gave a penalty if there was no goal in play? If you know what I mean? It would have been pretty interesting to see whether or not that would have happened, because I think if Rangers didn't go up and score, there wouldn't be as much outcry about this penalty incident as what there is. But obviously Rangers went up, great ball over to Yamani. Yamani gets a shot away, and luckily, I have to hold my hands up, but luckily it does land at Hamza Igamani as he puts it into the back of the net. But Dermot Gallagher doesn't really say it's a penalty. He just points at the fact that it's a little push, and he questions the fact, is it enough to give a penalty? He talks about Beaton calling it down the barrel, few saying he can't see it. So here, if it happened to my team, of course, if this happened to Rangers, some people are like, oh, referees, Glasgow, strong referees in Glasgow, even though it was in Edinburgh. Would Rangers have got this? Who knows? Would I have wanted them to get this? Yeah, because what I'd be looking at, well, he's pushed our player and they've went up and scored. Of course I want their goal to be disallowed enough to get a penalty to make it 2-1. But, yeah, as shit as it is for Hearts and it ends their wee streak, doesn't change the fact that Rangers are awful, folks. And, if you're a Rangers fan, yeah, it's 3 points, but 3 points to what? We're 13 points behind. You know what I mean? I want to see progression. And, yeah, even if we beat Hearts 9-0 yesterday playing out our skin, it doesn't mean anything. You need months of that. You need years of that. I need years of great football. It can't just be play shite, right? and then have a spell of 6 games where we're good. And I mean, big clubs need to be aiming for decades, man. You know, years, clumps of years where we're on top. Not this fucking. I mean, of course, see after Queen's Park, of course we're going to go on a wee run. The league's simply not good enough for us to fucking lose like 5 in a row. But we might lose 10 in a row, if you catch my drift. If this prick stays anyway. Dermot Gallagher, I agree with him.